Months have passed since the first video on God of War Ragnarok Secrets was made, and finally I've created the second part. During this time, many of you may have gotten married, some of you may have become parents, and some of you may have even unsubscribed from the channel. Anyway, let's begin the video, and if you know more than 7 of these secrets, you're definitely a die-hard fan of the game, so make sure to count how many of them you knew. Number 10. Reasons why trolls are fewer compared to the previous game. In God of War Ragnarok, we can clearly notice that the number of trolls has significantly decreased compared to the previous game. But what could be the reason for this change? You might think the developers decided to reduce their appearance because trolls were overused and started to feel repetitive in the last game. However, that's actually not the case. Otherwise, we would have seen fewer ogres too, since they also appeared frequently in the previous game. So what's the real reason behind the noticeable decrease in trolls? Personally, I found 2 interesting reasons for this, both of which are supported by the game and make perfect sense. Reason 1. Fimbulwinter. Fimbulwinter, often referred to as the Great Winter, marks a cataclysmic 3-year period of relentless, frigid winter that serves as a precursor to Ragnarok in Norse mythology. This severe winter is depicted as a time of extraordinary hardship, leading to widespread famine and suffering among various beings, including trolls. However, the impact of this harsh winter was especially devastating for trolls, since they were solitary hunters. Unlike ogres and many other creatures in the game that often hunted in groups, trolls preferred to hunt alone, which made their chances of survival much lower during such difficult times. Of course, the lack of food wasn't the only threat they faced. The extreme cold of this endless winter also wiped out many trolls. That's why, in the game, you only encounter frost trolls in the realm of Midgard, and no other types. The frost trolls manage to survive because they're naturally resistant to the freezing temperatures, while the rest of the troll species couldn't endure the cold and eventually perished. This is how Midgard became completely devoid of other troll species. Reason 2. Their deaths at the hands of gods and humans. The shortage of food forced trolls to attack human settlements, and humans, in turn, had no choice but to fight back to defend themselves. But in these battles, humans weren't alone. They had Thor on their side, who slaughtered trolls to protect humanity. Thor is often depicted either alone or accompanied by other gods in his confrontations with trolls. These epic clashes usually happened for different reasons, including trolls attacking human settlements or challenging the gods themselves. That's why, in Norse legends, it's said that trolls were afraid of thunder, which is strongly connected to Thor, who had a habit of slaying giants. But Thor wasn't the only one killing trolls. There was another figure named Alvis in the realm of Svartalfheim, who was revered by dwarves almost like a god. He was the warden, and a giant statue was built in his honor. Using his wisdom and power, he imprisoned some of the most dangerous creatures in the entire realm. This intelligent and powerful dwarf fought dangerous beings with his abilities. All the trolls and dragons that appear as stone in the game were captured by him, which made him extremely popular among the dwarves. All of these reasons together explain why we see far fewer trolls in this version of the game compared to the previous one. Number 9. If the Valkyries were suffering, why did Freya bring them back to life? In the previous game, we saw that after defeating the Valkyries, they would thank us and explain that Odin had trapped them in these iron armors and cursed them. They had been corrupted and were never in a good state, so they were happy to be free and released.
You have freed me from my corrupted form. You have my eternal gratitude. But my sisters remain trapped as I was. Take my helm. Find them. Free them. The fate of the Valkyries rests on your shoulders.
But in God of War Ragnarok, we see that Freya restored them to their previous state. This raises a question. If Freya knew they had been suffering, why would she return them to this situation? The answer is that she did bring them back to the world, but with significant differences. First, she used veneer magic to remove the corruption from the Valkyries. She brings back the original 9 Valkyries with better physical forms, allowing them to retain their sense of self. unlike the twisted forms caused by Odin's evil magic. Additionally, she redesigned their wings, giving them more organic bird-like wings instead of the metallic ones granted by Odin, and provided them with better combat armor. With all these changes, the Valkyries are no longer suffering, and they have been given a new name, the Shield Maidens. An interesting point is that the Vanir magic I mentioned is nothing less than the ancient Vanir arts, also known as the Old Magic. These were capable of reanimating the dead, and some could even manipulate time itself. Even more interestingly, this is the same magic that Baldur used to become cursed with immortality. Number 8. Why aren't the Blades of Chaos's flames used to cook hunted meat? You might have wondered why Kratos doesn't use his Blades of Chaos to cook meat, and instead always makes a separate fire. The answer can actually be found in the game's dialogues.
Brother, you ever think of cooking meat with those blades of yours?
No. They would foul the meat.
Oh, because of the magic on them?
The blood.
Ah, yes. Carry on then.
As you might have guessed, the blades cause any meat they touch to spoil, making it inedible. This, however, is less of a curse and more of a blessing. It ensures that the weapon causes much greater destruction and deals significantly more damage to enemies, similar to an archer who coats their arrows with poison to increase damage. In other words, the spoiling of enemy meat in battle is a gift that enhances the warrior's power with this weapon. Number 7. Interesting facts about the Bifröst element. You can't really call this one a secret. My main goal here is to help you understand one of the fundamental concepts and bits of lore in the game. In God of War Ragnarok, there are several elemental powers like fire, poison, and ice. These are pretty self-explanatory, but among them there's one called Bifröst, which isn't as familiar to most players. Bifröst is an element created from the combination of water, fire, and air, and it appears as a rainbow-like energy. This powerful element is mainly accessible only to the Norse gods and the Valkyries. Its primary purpose is teleportation and world travel. The gods and Valkyries use it to move between realms. If you pay close attention, you can even see the Valkyrie Queen using it in one of the game's cutscenes to teleport and save your life during a fall. Another example is when the dwarven blacksmiths use Mimir's eyes to activate the realm travel doors. His eyes are infused with Bifröst energy. Besides teleportation, Bifröst can also be used to create magical bridges that only gods and chosen beings can cross. If a regular human tries to walk on them, the bridge collapses. And finally, Bifröst can be used as a weapon. Throughout the game, you can see both the Valkyries and the Aesir gods using it in combat. For example, some Valkyries strike you with Bifröst energy, showing complete mastery over it, or when Heimdall reconstructs his arm using Bifröst and attacks you with it, that's another great example of its power as a weapon. No one outside of the Valkyries and Aesir gods can wield Bifröst, unless Odin himself grants them his blessing to serve in his army. A good example of this are the Einherjar, noble warriors who died in battle and were revived by Odin. With a small amount of Bifröst energy granted by him, they can use it both as a weapon to attack and as a magical shield to defend themselves. So that's the full nature, usage, and purpose of Bifröst, an incredibly powerful and divine element that I thought you'd like to know more about. Number 6. Why did Thor rub mead on his weapon at the beginning of the game? At the beginning of the game, during our first encounter with Thor, we can see that while he's talking to us, he also rubs some of his mead onto his weapon. But why does he do that? After studying several Norse sources and myths, I came to 3 possible explanations that I think are quite interesting. First reason, the sanctification of the weapon. Norse warriors considered mead a sacred and pure drink. When they were about to face an important battle, they would sometimes pour or rub some of their mead onto their weapons. They believed this would purify and bless the weapon. However, this ritual wasn't done before every fight. It was reserved for battles they considered truly meaningful. They didn't want to kill a worthy opponent with a weapon still tainted by the blood of lesser enemies. So we can conclude that Thor likely respected Kratos and the potential battle between them. By rubbing mead on his weapon, he was purifying and preparing it for a fight that he believed was worthy. Second reason, belief in increased wisdom and awareness. This one is less reliable, but still fascinating. Some Norse warriors believe that mead symbolized wisdom and alertness. By rubbing it on themselves or their weapons, they thought it would help them fight more intelligently and effectively, that the wisdom and awareness contained within the mead would enhance their performance in battle. Third reason, that hammer is his living buddy. When Thor dips his fingers into the mead and rubs it on Mjolnir, it's not just a random gesture. He once promised his daughter never to drink again. But that doesn't mean Mjolnir can't. It perfectly aligns with what Mimir said about Thor talking to his hammer. Maybe at some point that hammer was the only drinking companion he had left. Number 5. The heartbeat sound that came from reality into the game world. Deep within the spark of the world, you can hear a heartbeat echoing through the darkness. At first, it might sound like just another effect, but there's a fascinating story behind it. Alex Previty, the game's sound effect designer and producer, revealed that this heartbeat is not artificial at all. It's real. It's the heartbeat of his unborn daughter. He recorded the sound using a Doppler device, which is used to monitor a baby's heartbeat during pregnancy. The heartbeat was then integrated into the game's soundscape, giving that scene a deeply emotional and organic feel that connects perfectly with its story themes. If you've watched this far and enjoyed the video, please support us with a comment so the channel can stay alive and we can create better videos. Thank you in advance for your support. 20 hidden and interesting facts about Gungnir, Odin's legendary spear. At first, I wanted to talk about Thor's weapon, but since almost every detail about it has already been covered by other YouTubers, I decided to focus on Odin's weapon instead, and I found 20 fascinating facts about it. And if I were to tell you about them, I'd say that. 1. Forged by the dwarf Ivaldi. Crafted by one of the greatest dwarven smiths, Ivaldi, Gungnir is considered his finest creation, flawless and divine. 2. Never misses its mark. Gungnir's magic ensures it always hits its target, no matter the wielder's skill or distance. 3. The weapon that killed Ymir Odin used Gungnir to slay Ymir, the primordial giant, shaping the 9 realms from his corpse. If you're not familiar with Ymir, he's the brother of Surtur, the giant fire creature who appears at the end of Ragnarök. After Odin killed Ymir long ago, Surtur eventually carries out his destiny by burning Asgard to the ground, taking revenge for his brother's death. 4. Runes of precision and power. Ancient runes engraved into the spearhead increase its accuracy and destructive might. A symbol of sacrifice, Odin stabbed himself with Gungnir in his obsessive quest for wisdom, showing his devotion to knowledge above life. 6. Disguised as a walking stick. In God of War Ragnarok, Odin often hides Gungnir in plain sight, a reminder that true power doesn't need to boast. 7. Bound to Odin's soul. The spear can appear and disappear at will, proving it's magically connected to Odin's very essence. 8. Infused with Bifröst energy. Odin channeled his mastery over the Bifröst into Gungnir, granting it teleportation-like abilities and magical enhancements. 9. The dark twin of the Draupnir spear. Kratos' spear was forged from love and protection. Odin's was forged from greed and control. 2 weapons, same form, opposite souls. 10. Killed Thor during Ragnarök. 11. It can stand on its own. During the final boss fight, Gungnir can be seen floating upright even when Odin isn't holding it, as if alive. 12. It absorbs dark essence. Odin's own blood and soul energy are said to be fused into the weapon, making it an extension of his will. 13. Changes shape instantly. Gungnir can shift from a small staff into a full-length spear in a blink, showing its magical flexibility. 14. Unstained by blood. Strangely, when Odin kills Thor, Gungnir remains perfectly clean, a possible sign of its cursed divine nature. 15. Extremely durable. The spear easily deflects blows from the Leviathan axe, proving it's made from a godly material beyond steel. 16. Used as a magical focus. Odin channels spells through Gungnir, but he doesn't rely on it. The spear simply amplifies his already vast magical power. 17. Tied to the noose of the hanged. During the final battle, Odin attaches the rope he once used to hang himself to the spear, linking his mythic sacrifice to his weapon. 18. Its color symbolizes death. The bone-like ivory design of Gungnir represents death and resurrection, themes deeply tied to Odin's obsession with immortality. 19. Depicted in ancient Jotnar murals, Gungnir appears in several shrines showing Odin's rise to power, including the moment he kills Ymir with his brothers Vili and Ve. 20. Destroyed with Asgard. After Odin's death, Gungnir perished alongside Asgard, ending the weapon's dark legacy forever. Whose cries can be heard in Niflheim? In the realm of Niflheim, at the end of the game, you can hear the cries of a woman, but you don't know whose voice it is. That voice actually belongs to Sinmara, Surtur's wife. However, the game never mentions this, because a large part of the original story and events were removed by the developers. Fans have discovered these cut files, including Sinmara's concept art, her voice lines, and many dialogues, which reveal some very interesting details, and I'll give you a brief summary. Files found by fans revealed that Sinmara was originally going to have a bigger role in the ending of God of War Ragnarok, but this part was cut, probably to make the game shorter. In the original ending, Surtur tries to become Ragnarok on his own, but he fails and dies. This leads Kratos and his son to follow the original plan, traveling to Niflheim to find Sinmara. At first, Sinmara runs away, but our son convinces her to become Ragnarok by lying that Odin killed Surtur. Kratos is disappointed by his son's deception, but his son explains that he is closing his heart. After that, Sinmara returns with them to the spark of the world and merges with Surtur's remains. From this point, the story reconnects with the ending seen in the final game. After Asgard and Ragnarok are destroyed, Kratos was supposed to be able to find Sinmara and Surtur's hearts in separate locations and return both to the spark of the world. Mimir was worried this might accidentally revive Ragnarok, but Kratos said he would handle the consequences. This was the full story that we were originally meant to see, but the developers decided to remove it from the final game. Number 2. How did Odin gain the knowledge to foresee Ragnarok before it happened? Early in the game, through the characters' dialogues, we learned that traveling through the Yggdrasil tree is no longer possible.
No use trying to Bifrost your way around the realms. Odin's got them locked down tight. Or ain't you noticed?
Odin has blocked all connections between the realms because he discovered a prophecy that spoke about Ragnarok and the destruction of Asgard. However, he didn't know exactly when or who would cause it. So to protect himself, he decided to cut off all realm travel. But how did Odin learn about this prophecy in the first place? Well, to understand that, we need to go back in time. Groa was a powerful sorceress who was married to a warrior named Orvandil. One day, Thor asked Orvandil to help him on a quest. During this mission, Orvandil suffered from frostbite, and Thor tried to carry him back, but eventually lost him in the frozen tundra. After Orvandil disappeared, Groa traveled across the realm searching for ancient tomes to increase her prophetic powers and find her husband. Over time, she became one of the strongest users of Seidr magic, so powerful that even Odin often sought her wisdom. But despite all her power, she still couldn't find Orvandil. Then, after reading an ancient runic spell, Groa had a powerful vision. She saw the coming of Ragnarok. Odin sensed her vision and went to her library, demanding to know what she had seen. Groa hesitated, and Odin, smiling, told her that Thor had killed Orvandil. Refusing to help him, Groa was strangled to death by Odin, who then took all her knowledge for himself. Through this, Odin learned parts of the prophecy and realized that Asgard would one day be destroyed, but he never discovered how or by whom it would happen. Number 1. The unpredictable fists. Farbauti in Norse mythology is a giant and is known as the father of Loki. Farbauti can be translated as swift striker or sudden striker, which perfectly fits Kratos in his battle against Heimdall. During that fight, Kratos showcased not only his raw strength, but also incredible speed and precision. Even though the Draupnir spear played a crucial role in allowing him to counter Heimdall's foresight, it was ultimately Kratos' overwhelming quickness and aggression that turned the tide. Heimdall could see every move coming, every swing, every thrust, even the moment of his own death, yet he couldn't react fast enough to stop it. But that's not the whole story. Throughout the game and in conversations with NPCs, the player is led to believe that the only way to defeat Heimdall is by using the spear. Yet, during the fight, the very first strike that lands on Heimdall isn't from the spear. It comes from Kratos' own fists. By doing this, the developers wanted to show that Kratos' power isn't tied solely to his weapons. Even if his weapon is taken away, he's still a force to be reckoned with. His strength lies within himself, and we're dealing with a hero whose abilities are not dependent on the tools he wields. All of his skills stem from him, not the weapon in his hands. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Perhaps many of the topics mentioned in the video can't exactly be called secrets, but they were basic concepts and lore of the game that I wanted you to know.